Welcome, Anna Solomon. I'm really excited to talk to you today. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
So I just want to start off by letting people know a little bit more about you. Where are you living and what kind of tutoring do you normally do?
So I live in Salisbury, Maryland, which is on the Eastern Shore and not near DC, Baltimore, that area. That's about 3 hours away.
Hmm.
And I am a solopreneur. It's just me, and I teach SAT and ACT, all sections. And so I'm working both in my region here and also in Richmond, Virginia.
Nice. And that's where you were before, right? In Richmond.
Correct.
Nice. And so most of your tutoring is over Zoom right now, or is
Yeah, it is.
Yep. So how did you teach math before you were using Mathchops?
Before I was using the tests, like the official tests. And then I had some specific worksheets that, if we found some, there were like systems of equations or equation of a circle, stuff like that, to just really like hammer it in. But I didn't have a great system. I kept meaning to go through the tests and pick out the questions and stuff.
Yeah.
And, but I just didn't. I just kept not doing that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so you'd give them a test or you give them a worksheet and then you'd grade it. And then did you have some kind of system for keeping track of like what they did there, or sort of like a general sense, they missed another circle question, maybe we'll give them another worksheet, or, was there a follow-up, or was it kind of just like, you would assign things and then,
we would, we'd grade it together and then we'd walk through it and they would say, like, I wasn't sure about this, or I had no idea here. And, and that way we would also be seeing, are you making math errors? Are you not reading the whole thing? Like that's kind of stuff. And then working from there. So if it was like a concept, like a circle equation, then I would have the worksheet for them and we'd work through a couple on our own together. And then it would be part of their homework. Right. But I recognize that it wasn't, a great system because there wasn't, the interleaving and the repetition and all of that. So, yeah.
So for those who don't know, what's interleaving?
It's part of something that we discussed in the NTPA book club.
Very nice.
A little tag, and basically it's repeating information over and over over time, so that it goes from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, but it's a more natural process than just straight memorization is how I understand it anyway.
Right. So instead of doing like, we're going to do a month on linear equations and then we'll do a month on quadratic equations, you would kind of do some linear, some quadratic, some probability, and you'd keep kind of going around and around.
Keep it all fresh. Yeah, exactly. And then, and things that they learned very early on would show up every once in a while. I only work with students for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's not, there wasn't we didn't have a huge amount of time to lose information in, but.
Well, still 8 weeks. I mean, it's amazing what can be forgotten in 8 weeks for sure. So what made you interested in Mathchops in the first place?
I was trying to remember. I mean, I know you spoke about it at the conference, the NTPA conference was it August?
Yeah, last June, I think. Yep.
And I think you'd been talking about it and it sounded like a good idea. And then at the conference I signed up and started using it like kind of myself and then with a few students. And then I talked to you about like some of the issues I was having with just using it. And once you clarified that, like I could, it was obviously a very good resource for my kids.
Cool. Well, so that's a good thing to follow up on. What were some of the things that you had trouble with regarding Mathchops at the beginning, like kind of hurdles to get through, or maybe integrating it with what you were doing? Or
right. I didn't know how to integrate it because there wasn't at that point there wasn't a plan for like first you do this and then you do this, it was just a bunch of resources. And I was kind of like I was trying different things but I wasn't using them effectively. So that was the issue. I mean, yes, that was I think the biggest issue.
Yeah, well, and that was on us too. Not really, just kind of dumping you in the middle of all these, games and no guidance necessarily. But well, so how do you use it now?
Well, so I feel like it's a lot easier to use now with the dashboard having changed so that, because there's pretty much, there's two things I'm using. It's the take the challenge and the category challenges. And
Yep.
then I tell my students, like, you can go and play the games if that's what you want to do. The questions are just as good.
Mhm.
And some of them, so some of them do that instead.
Yeah.
But I don't assign that.
Right.
And I'm sorry, and now I've lost track of the question.
No. So that you're doing a good job. So you're just saying how you use it. It's basically those two main quizzes. Sometimes they'll do the other games. And do you normally? I know a lot of tutors will kind of they'll assign the level challenge, and then a student gets stuck, and they'll kind of go to the category challenges for a bit, and then they'll go back to the level challenge. Is that what you do too, or?
Yes, it is. So yeah, I tell them we're going to start with the level challenge. You just take that until you stop increasing your score, and
Mhm.
then we'll go over to category challenges. And I'm checking in with them every session, which is usually once a week,
Yeah.
and saying, like, how's it going, and let's look at it. So
Yep.
that's, yep.
And so during the session, do you normally like go to that analyze page and sort of go through the ones that they missed, or will you create quizzes with them, or is it different with every student?
Usually what I do, I check in on it
Mhm.
and with them, and then if we have time, or usually if we have about 20 minutes at the end of the session,
Mhm.
I will often have them just walk through the questions that they did without me.
Yeah.
And I just have them, they share their screen, they scroll through their questions, and
Yep.
I say, okay, talk about what we're looking at.
Yep.
And so, and I mean, it's it's awesome because they'll look through the questions. And so if there was one that they had a problem with, and even though they got it, they'll say, like, oh, I couldn't figure this out.
Mhm.
Or I did, but I don't really get it. And and I'll say, okay, well, did the explanation make sense? And sometimes yes, and sometimes no. And so then we talk about it.
Yep.
But it's again, and it's that repetition again of the stuff that they were working on, because they can, talk about the concept or the way that they solved it.
Mhm.
And that way they're thinking about it one more time and talking about it with me.
Right.
So I am such a fan. It is, yeah, it's, yeah, I'm such a fan.
Thank you. That's awesome. And
Oh, my
what would you
pleasure.
say are the main benefits? Like someone who hasn't really tried it, why do you think they should, or why do you think it could help them?
I mean, so it's like I tell my students and my parents that it's the concepts that will be tested on the test, tested in the way they'll be tested on the test. So the wording is there and the concepts are there. It's not extra stuff. There's nothing that, that they're not going to be tested on.
Mhm.
You're very on the ball about, like, what's in there. So if there's something new that shows up on a test that we haven't seen before,
Mhm.
it shows up on Mathchops shortly thereafter.
Right.
So which is amazing. So I'm always, because I go on there and I'm currently trying to earn a specific coin. So I'm seeing I need epaulets, and
Yeah.
it's just not happening for me yet. But my avatar needs epaulets. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, my partner John is going to be so pleased that you said that, because he built that whole gaming system, and he made the coin, which I think is maybe like the single most popular thing with students. That coin sound, that.
Right. Oh, yeah, they love it. Yeah, we because sometimes I have them do one
Yeah.
thing in front of me just so that they jump in the pool type thing.
Yep.
And yeah, and they're like, oh, I got a coin, like, fun, right?
Exactly. All right. So this has been awesome. My last question for you: do you have any advice for new users, like in terms of getting used to using it, or things that they should do?
I think as a tutor,
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. As a
yeah,
tutor.
as a tutor, I would join that Facebook group where we talk about Mathchops,
Mhm.
because that way you can see how other people are using it and what they're doing, because
Mhm.
it's kind of a you don't know what you don't know. And then you've created those PDFs of the kind of a flow chart of what to do.
Mhm.
And so probably using those, and also per one of a conversation we had recently on that group, doing it yourself so
Right.
that you can, increase your levels and see what students have to do to play certain games and things like that, and what the questions are like, because I think that that's only going to increase your interest in having the students do it, because they're great questions that test a lot of good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. And I think that it does help you see what the student's doing and sort of like know what to assign when you've done it a little bit yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what's a reasonable amount? Because one of the mistakes I made was I told them, like increase your level to this point. And I
Yeah.
thought that was going to be an hour-long assignment. They did it in 10 minutes. So that,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but I'm learning all the time.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.